I was thinking about roadblocks and specifically roadblocks with writing. As I struggled with my own writing throughout my career or the development of that career and or to get to the career, I suppose, more accurately, it is important to remove the roadblocks to your writing if you choose to go down that path. And this obviously would apply to a wider range of things. But if there's a goal that you want to do or to achieve, you need to make it as easy as possible. And I remember in my writing, I would have these ideas of the stories in a large scale, just general ideas of themes or things that I wanted to explore. And I could never quite find a way to do that, to find the right environment. Should it be in a historical setting? Should it be present day? How could I set up the scene to emphasize or touch upon the themes that I wanted to touch on? And because my work, at least to my thinking, this is open to argument, touched on arguably philosophical type issues or things of that nature, in order to construct the situations I needed, I decided to write in the realm of fantasy, simply because I could make anything up. And that allowed me to create the situations that I wanted to explore without going through, sort of jumping through the hoops that would be required to set it in what would have been for me then a present day situation or a more realistic type fiction. Because not that it couldn't be done, mind you, but it just made it harder to do. And if it's harder to do, I find I'm less likely to do it. And so once I realized I should just write fantasy and stick with that, it made it so much easier. And this was an interesting choice because I did not read fantasy. Fantasy is not what I read when I picked up a book. I tended to read, well, it wasn't fantasy. It was, all over the gamut, quite frankly, but a lot of things that would be labeled, and even that is arguable, although all labels are arguable at the end of the day, more of the literary bent of fiction. Not that that doesn't or can't delve into fantasy itself, but the point is that you need to remove the roadblocks to getting your writing done. So, for instance, if you choose to write in an area that requires lots of research and you don't like to do research, you should consider not writing in that area, not doing something that requires to do something that will be a reason not to engage in the task that you want or to achieve the goal. If writing and getting published is the goal, which it may not be. So it's sort of in a sense a question of removing friction. And there's a man, Dan Ariely, who talks about this, and he's talking about it in terms of behavioral change and how we effectuate change in groups or, on a psychological, economic, behavioral level. But he captions it as removing friction. We need to remove friction that is impeding the change that we are trying to get, or that is impeding achieving the goal we are trying to achieve, which for me was writing. And once I learned to sort of let go of the idea of what should be and just write in this genre that was very interesting to me, but also let me play and set up the scenarios and conflicts that I wanted, it became so much easier. So take that for what it's worth. I love you. I hope you are well. I hope you go forth and have a wonderful day. And for a book recommendation, I shall recommend one book of the genre I tended to read that I love both for itself and because it's just a masterful work in terms of craft. The Known World by Edward P. Jones is a phenomenal book. And for music, I would recommend you take a look at the work of Dan Deacon, who does a lot of electronic music that will sound familiar to you once you begin to hear it, I suspect.